Hey everybody, it's me, Jose Segura. Welcome to a special episode of Fireside Chat with the President. In this particular episode, we're going to just focus on the President's release. And so this is also going to kind of be a twofer. This will be a report out to our membership, an update on what's happening, but it's also an update to the school board because I presented a couple years ago to the school board on this exact topic. And so this is a follow-up to that conversation. But I wanted all of our members to have access to the same information, which is why I'm doing it in this particular format. So, like I said, a couple of years ago, I was here in front of the school board and I presented this document right here. And we talked about the full-time president's release and what that might mean. For those of you who are not aware, prior to 2018-19 school year, I was a 50% president. So I was half-time in the classroom and half-time president. But the reality was I was half-time in the classroom and I was a full-time president. And we'll talk a little bit about what I learned over that experience, but it was definitely a challenge to do both those jobs at the same time. And so in the fall of 2018, we had received a grant through CTA, and that grant kicked in that fall. The grant provided additional dollars to SMEA to help backfill the cost of additional release for the president, my position. And so I moved from a 50% release president, and now since the fall of 2018, I've been a full-time release president. And so let's talk about what that meant. So back in 2018, it was really the focus was on the big projects. And if you look at our actual document to NEA, our actual application, we had to break our rationale for the application into 4 categories. And those categories were basically member engagement, community engagement, things like communication, and also membership in general, right? Retaining members, bringing members in, that kind of stuff. And it's something we worked really hard on over the last couple of years. At the end of each year of the grant program, I was required to complete an evaluation document. Myself and Andrew Oman, our CTA staff person, worked together on that. And so what I've done is I provided that document to both the board and the district's cabinet. So they should have both year 1 and year 2 evaluation documents. So you get an idea of what our objectives and goals were, how have we progressed towards those objectives and goals? Have there been any changes or modifications as circumstances have changed? And so that's a really good overall summary document of where we were, where we are, and where we hope to be, right? And so what's really nice about the main 4 objectives in our grant document was that they were not one and done type events. They were ongoing, evolving type projects. So we look at something like member engagement. Well, you're never done engaging with members. You can intensify, increase, ramp up your member engagement programs. You can find new and interesting ways to engage with members, but member engagement is a constant. It's always going to be there. And so there's the evaluation documents that the district, the cabinet, and the school board have access to. All right. And so let's talk about what we've learned since fall of 2018, right? There's been a lot going on since then. And we know that last spring, the pandemic hit and our schools closed for in-person instruction, and we're still in that distance learning model. But stuff happened even before that. And so let's take a look at what we've learned over the last couple of years, right? So first things first, it's not all about big projects, right? You tend to think about big projects as kind of the demand of your time, but big projects, they come and go. Big projects last for a year, they last for a month, it depends. But it's the day-to-day stuff. It's the everyday in and out, keeping the lights on and the wheels on the bus. That's really what's time consuming. And any of you who've ever run a small business or were a single, had your own business, you know that if you provide a service or a product, the more successful you become providing that service and that product, the less time you actually have to provide that service and product because you're spending more time running the business. And it's no different with our union. Our union is an organization. Not only am I the president of SMEA, but technically I'm also the CEO, right? So it's my responsibility to run the organization. And that's just become more and more of a full-time job. And so that's something that's taken up a lot of time. Another thing I've learned over the last couple of years is that my students did not benefit from having a part-time president, part-time teacher. There are great part-time teachers out there who are doing fabulous work. But I wasn't just a 50% teacher sharing a job with another teacher. I was running the union full-time as well. So the full-time responsibilities were still there, even back in 2018. And so it was to the detriment of my students. And just so you know, at the time, when I was working half-time, I was in the classroom every day, half a day. That's how I felt was the best fit for me. But I understand now, and really kind of looking back and reflecting, that I wasn't as successful as an educator as I would hope to be or wanted to be. And so having the full-time release provides not only me with an opportunity to focus on the association, focus on being its CEO and its president and moving our organization forward, but it really helps those students who normally would have been in my job shared classroom to now just have a single teacher there all day long. A teacher who doesn't have their full-time job responsibility that kind of intertwines with the school and the class and the district. And so that's definitely a benefit, not only to me as association president, but definitely a benefit to the students who would normally be in my classroom if I was sharing a job. And so that's important to talk about too. Also, what I've learned is that not only does this job and the day-to-days and the running of the organization dominate a lot of my time, but the more that we do, the more that I do for members, the more time it takes. And so I got to share this with you all. Mr. Ontiveros has said this to me often over the years that I've been president, that he's been in the district, and he is constantly reminding me, sharing with me that what he does and what I do are not so dissimilar, that we have a lot of the same demands on us in our work, and a lot of the things that we do are very similar. And to a certain extent, I agree with him, right? Now, I don't have any employees, nobody works for me, but a lot of the things that we do are very similar. And so I look at superintendent and association president. If we were a really small single school district, right, a one schoolhouse district with maybe 25 teachers, we'd have a superintendent. But chances are that superintendent would also be the principal, and they might even wear other hats as well. And so that superintendent would wear multiple hats trying to get everything done. And so opportunities, time, energy to be innovative, creative, and forward-thinking are diminished. It would be the same with the local chapter president. I could be a local chapter president of a single school district where there's only 25 teachers. I'm the president. We got a vice president. We got a secretary and treasurer. So almost 20% of my membership is just running the executive board. We'd have to run every committee of the association. Plus, we'd be doing all the work that a lot of you do at your sites, right? Volunteering for things, running committees, doing book clubs and things like that. And so as the association president, I'd be wearing a lot of hats, right? Chances are I wouldn't have any release time because my time would be focused on all my work activities, school activities, and I'd be running the union on my own time outside the workday. Well, as associations and districts get bigger, the superintendent can wear fewer and fewer hats because the focus would be really on the superintendent's work. And it's the same thing for the president. So in a district our size, we're fortunate. We have a full-time superintendent that's his only responsibility. And it allows Mr. Ontiveros to be innovative, creative, forward-thinking, and to really look at the needs of our district and to kind of think about, how can he best bring his time and talent to the district in order to help students and staff and our district as a whole progress and move forward. And it's the same thing with me, right? So now I can focus on just those responsibilities. But Mrs. Oliver, a couple of years ago, back in November of 2018, asked a good question, right? And she asked about whether or not it would be time well spent to have a full-time president. And how would they know? And she didn't use the word guarantee, but how can the district be assured, or how could I assure the district that the time as a full-time release president would be time well spent? And really the answer then is the same answer now. But I can't put it in the context of this kind of a equivalency relationship that I have with the superintendent and the work that he does. A superintendent who is innovative, creative, and forward-thinking is going to be a superintendent that a board's going to want around for a long time. But there's nothing that requires them to be innovative, creative, or forward-thinking. There's nothing that requires them to think deep and long about some of the ways in which we can help students. They keep the wheels on the bus, they keep the lights on, all the paperwork and the documents get turned in on time. That could be a superintendent as well. But the board has control over who the superintendent is, and they can decide that this is someone who's not a right fit for their district. And the same thing is true for our union. A full-time release president can be as innovative, creative, or forward-thinking as they want to be or not, right? They could not do any of those things. And they could not be as beneficial to the association and to the students of the district as they could be. And that's up to the membership to decide whether or not they want to move on from that particular president and bring in somebody new. And so the power and the authority to determine whether or not I'm doing a job that's of value lies in the hands of my membership. Just like the power to determine whether or not a superintendent is doing the job that was hoped lies in the hands of the school board. And so that's an important piece that we learned over the last couple of years. And so the full-time release presidency has been a benefit to my membership, especially during this time of COVID. We've put out 150 detailed, more production value oriented, kind of like this video, communication with our members just since March. That does include hundreds of communications with members about all kinds of things. And so just having the flexibility in my day to make sure that I'm communicating with folks and that we're moving forward. And these are just communications based on what's been happening since March. We're still moving forward with modernizing CNI. We're still moving forward with bringing those teacher tutors on board now that they're officially part of the association and bargaining on their behalf. We're still moving forward with our member engagement projects like PD for Me. We're still moving forward with community engagement programs. We're establishing relationships with Cause and with Fund for Santa Barbara and Fighting Back Santa Maria and all these other local organizations that not only are here in our community, but they touch the lives of our students and our families. And so it's our best interest to have working relationships with these organizations so that we can help support each other and we can help move each other's initiatives forward and things like that. And so we're going to continue to do these things. It's been a great almost 2.25 years doing this. This is the last year of the grant. So come this June, the grant will no longer be funding us. SMEA is in a position to continue to financially support a full-time president beyond the years of the grant. We've already looked at projected budgets for the next few years, and we know that it's possible, and without having to pull back from some of the other opportunities that we provide our teachers. And so the full-time president's release, benefit to the district, absolutely. Benefit to students, just in the fact that the president isn't sharing their job and doing 100% president's work is a benefit to our students. And a benefit to our association, yes, absolutely. And those of you who reach out and communicate with me and have interactions with the work that we're doing, I think that you, or I hope that you would say that it's a benefit for our association as well. Okay, so at this point, school board, I'm open for questions.